Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Can't believe we're already here, Alana. I don't even know where time has gone. But everyone just tuning in, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. I'm your host, Brittany Ashley, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in amazing New Orleans. Get ready to escape the next hour as we break norms and build dreams with Alana. I'm so excited to have you, Alana.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Brittany. I think I was supposed to be on a couple months ago, and then I called you and I said, I broke my nose in my fight. I don't think I'm gonna be the best guest the next day. So yeah, I'm glad that we were able to make this work, and very excited to be here today. Thank you. That little intro got me all pumped. So
yeah. I know. We actually, just so the listeners know, you're scheduled, I think, in November to come in. I think about that time.
I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. I was like 2 days after my fight. I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be good to go.
No worries. We made it happen because you have another fight, which we'll get to about that, to promote that for all the listeners to come in and support you. But yeah, I'll do a little bit of a background of who you are, just so everyone knows. This is lovely Alana Cook, the Alanamal. Is that how you say it?
The Alanamal.
The Alanamal. Cook is a professional MMA fighter, proud Métis woman, and the emerging scholar in Indigenous sports and wellness. Over the past decade, she has embraced martial arts and explored how these teachings can help heal the intergeneration impacts of colonial trauma. Sometimes my dyslexia gets the best of me when I see all these words, so I apologize. Alana will share her journey and finding balance through sport and healing and cultural self-discovery. I'm so excited to have you. I was going to let you know before you came on the show too, you're my first Métis woman to come on the show. So I'm super pumped to have you so we can talk about our ancestors a little bit more and share a bit behind the scenes of who we all are.
Awesome. I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you can share a little bit more of your journey with us.
Yeah. I'll just start. Tanche Kiowa, Alana Cook Dishnakashon. So my name's Alana Cook. So I come from the Desjardins family. So a lot of people don't know this, but in Métis culture, we don't always have clans. It's more like families. You know, when people meet, it's like, oh, who's your family? Like who are you related to? So I always preface. So my grandmother is Jeanette Desjardins. Now she's Jeanette Schwingenschlegel by marriage, but she was born in Saint Francois Xavier. Which is a Métis settlement in Manitoba. So that's where we trace our lineage back to, is the Red River Valley. Something I've always been very proud of, and just try and bring that into what I do and how I carry myself. Mm-hmm. I started martial arts when I was 19. So I'm actually 33 now. Going to be 34 this year. Oh my gosh, where does the time go? I was an athlete my whole life. And when I was 19, I was your typical 19-year-old, I was going through it. I was really questioning, like, who am I? What do I want to do? All these emotions, it's such a pivotal time in your life. And I remember thinking, I think I want to learn how to fight. That's something that's always kind of been in the back of my mind, growing up. Seeing, Xena Warrior Princess or Tomb Raider or Power Rangers, like all these cool female role models who knew how to fight. And I remember growing up as a little kid and thinking, like, that was so cool. So I just really need a little bit of a reset. And I went to a local martial arts gym, and this will date me. I looked at my parents' phone book, and I don't know if people are like, what's the phone book? But literally, I remember I pulled it open. I went, okay, martial arts gyms. And there was a place called the Fight Pit, which was about 10 minutes from my house. And I went there, and it was just such a cool atmosphere going in. I was like, okay, yeah, like this is a real, like I was the only girl for sure. And there was some other people there that it was also their first day. So we both were kind of like, oh my God, like what are we, this is your first day, is my first day. And we got into it. And after that first session, I was immediately hooked. And I just like, oh, I love this. This is so fun. It's such a rush. It's such a good way to push myself. And I came back the next day and the next day and the next day. And I just didn't stop. And here I am, 13, 14 years later, and I'm doing it every day. It's something that is just such a big part of my life that I literally can look at my life as before martial arts and after martial arts. And that's really how much it's impacted me. It's been such a huge part of my life. And now I could never see myself not being someone that practices martial arts. Even if I'm not fighting in the ring, it's something that I'll train and study and enjoy for the rest of my life.
I love that. So you went on your journey. Did someone approach you to be like, have you ever thought of venturing in and being an MMA fighter? Like, I always like, how does that even come up?
For sure. And I always tell people, women weren't in the UFC until I believe, 2013. I think they just had the anniversary of that a couple days ago. So when I started, it was 2010. And there was no pathway for women, like I was the only, I think actually there was one other girl at the gym who'd been kind of doing it off and on. But I was the only girl, and it really, like, there was no one who was like, I think you'd be a good fighter. Like, I think my dad was a rugby coach. So that was something he'd always said to me is, I think you'd be a good wrestler. I'm very scrappy. But the wrestling season was always the same time as volleyball. So I never got to try it. I was always playing volleyball, and then playing, badminton, soccer, rugby, always in those team sports. So this was the first time I'd ever tried an individual sport. And it was just so different. And, it's really, really cool now that there's that pathway for women. So if women start, it's, you could just do it recreationally, but if you show an aptitude for it and a passion for it, there is, okay, you could do a local tournament. Okay, let's get you an amateur kickboxing or boxing fight. And there's also more girls doing it. And when I started, there weren't a lot of women. So there wasn't opportunities to go and compete. It really was just more for fun and for recreation and fitness. I'd go to a tournament and maybe I'd get lucky and there'd be one other girl and I get one match, and then, I'm just riding that high all day. So, but, like now it's incredible. You look at local jiu-jitsu brackets and, there's 6, 7, 8 girls in brackets, which is just insane to me, how the sport has grown. And I think that's something that's really amazing about MMA too, is it is still a relatively young sport. It only started really in the 90s. Obviously, martial arts are ancient, but the idea, the rule set for MMA. So it's still in its early stages. It's still growing, and there's still so much more room for it to grow. So that's something that's very exciting about it.
Maybe you can educate the listeners a little bit more on like what MMA stands for and kind of a little bit behind the scenes. Just, I know what it is, but anyone else is like,
absolutely. And you know what? It's funny. I gave a talk on MMA at a conference in the fall, and there were some women there who practice different types of martial arts. I think one woman did karate, one woman did kendo. And they didn't even know what all the specificities or martial arts of MMA was. And I think that's because it has such a poor reputation, and it's gotten better, but a lot of people see it and all they see is violence. Like all they see is people getting punched in the head on the ground. And that was something I remember an older gentleman told me that why some of the older generation didn't really like MMA, because what he said was, with boxing, if you hit somebody and you knock him down, you don't hit a man when he's down. And in MMA, you're going till like the bitter end, right? It's a fight. It's we're really going until the ref pulls us apart. So some people think that it's not honorable to hit someone when you're down, but really it is a test of skill, and it's such an amazing test of resilience when you can overcome those shots or those poor situations. And going back, so the rule set of MMA. So it's 3 5-minute rounds in the cage. As a professional, if it's a championship round, then you do 5 rounds. and there's a referee in there, and they're there to keep you safe. So some of the rules are, you can't, no eye pokes, no, fish hooking, which is when you put your fingers in someone's mouth, no hair pulling, no low blows. The rules just changed about a grounded opponent. So if someone has their hands, knees, and feet on the ground, you can't hit them in the head. Or sorry, you can't kick them in the head or knee them in the head. You can do that ground and pound. You can throw elbows. But here's the thing: when you're professional, you can. But if you do tournaments where you're wearing, you're doing 2-minute rounds with headgear and boxing gloves and kick and shin guards. So there's a lot of time to figure out if the sport is for you. That's the thing. People, well, at least they shouldn't be rushing right into the pro leagues, right? Like, as theoretically you could if you wanted. I don't think it's a very good idea.
Yes.
But there's stages where you figure out, like, is this the sport for me? And you see that a lot in amateur MMA. So that's where you're still, especially if you're under 18, you're wearing headgear, you're wearing bigger gloves, so it's not as damaging. And you see some people, they get hit and right away they just kind of shell up, and that's when the ref stop, right? Okay, like, obviously this isn't the sport for you. This isn't something, and there's no shame in that. There's it isn't a sport for everyone. And something that I say, we say at my gym, is martial arts is for everyone. Everyone can train, but not everyone can fight. It is, and that's what makes it special, because not everyone can fight. It does take something that you have to train a lot. You have to dig deep within yourself, and you have to overcome a hell of a lot to get to where, you can be in there and you can take a punch and you can keep going.
Yeah. You mentioned resilience. What does resilience mean to you?
Resilience. So I had, I still like the word resilience. It was funny. I was talking with my supervisor. I'm doing my PhD as well. And my supervisor, Dr. Janice Forsyth, she's so smart, so wonderful. And we were talking about how there's a bit of a thing going around that Native women, we're tired of being called resilient. We wanna be called something else, because resilient does mean that a lot has happened to you and you can keep going. And I guess it leads to that sort of strength-based and deficit-based approach, where if you look at someone, like, what are the things that are strong about them? What are the things that they've had to overcome, right? So a lot of the time, because negative things have happened to Indigenous women, they have to be resilient. They have to overcome it. When I'm thinking about, like, my martial arts journey, I've definitely had to overcome a lot. And, less than others, more than others, for sure. Everything is relevant to you as a person. That's one thing too about martial arts. It's really, when you start, you're always, because it's an individual sport, you're always kind of looking around at other people, and you measure people. We always measure ourselves against other people, but I've really learned to measure myself against myself. And how am I handling things that maybe younger Alana would not have been able to handle? How is future Alana going to be stronger now because of the things that I'm handling right now? So for me, resilience really means that digging deep and just knowing that no matter what happens, I can keep going. I had somebody ask me not that long ago about if, I've had 2 surgeries in this sport. It is serious business. And people have asked, did you ever think about quitting? And for me, I never thought about quitting. I just thought, man, when I got injured, I'm like, it's going to be more time till I'm back on the mats. And that's kind of how my brain works. And that's how I realized, like, martial arts and fighting is such a big part of my life, that it's never about quitting. It's just about, okay, how can I get back to it? And for me, that was doing physio twice a day for 6 months. You know how boring that was? It was so boring, and I would get so frustrated. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, you don't really have to do this. You can just kind of wait for it. But I wanted to get back to my sport more quickly because I missed it. So having that dedication to do the things that were even boring, that were able to get me back there. Doing that definitely took a lot of digging deep. And then when I'm back on the mats, I try and be so grateful for every moment. So like today, Monday, I'm not super happy every single day I wake up. Sometimes I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I don't want to get punched in the head. I'm tired. I'm cutting weight. But then I kind of bring myself back to those times where I was injured and I had to just sit on the side of the mats and watch people. And I thought I would have done absolutely anything in the world to be back on the mat. So injuries, nothing gives you perspective like an injury, for sure.
Would you say mindset plays in a little bit?
Oh, mindset is fighting is like 90% mental. It's wild. And that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. And it's kind of like that any given Sunday principle, right? And that's why you see sometimes people go into a fight and someone who is a huge underdog is able to just dig deep and get that win because mentally they didn't quit. I train at a gym, Niagara Top Team, and it's really changed my mindset because the style of the gym is very top pressure heavy, a lot of wrestling. So some gyms are more, I think, more jujitsu focused. So for the listeners, jujitsu is a bit more like flowy, you know, like it's really about using your opponent's strength against them and finding those ways to, you know, you can be on your back and moving and looking for submissions. Wrestling is just about imposing your will on whoever the hell gets in your way, and just definitely that wrestling mindset has been something that I've really implemented into my game now. That idea of I'm just whatever's in my way, I'm going to take you out and I'm going to take you down and I'm going to be the winner. I find sometimes with that jujitsu mindset, you kind of get comfortable being on your back and being like, this is okay, I'm safe. But then you get punched and for MMA and you're like, okay, I'm not safe. So people like in wrestling, you see it too, right? It's not always the better athlete who wins. It's whoever can impose their will and whoever is just afraid to not quit and keep going.
I find mindset is, I just lost the phone. So if anyone's trying to get hold of me, can't answer. What I was just going to say about mindset too, just in like the business realm of things, because I know we have a lot of business listeners as well. Even just in the 9 to 5, when you're put in a situation that you just feel like you can't come out of, having that mind switch is just like, I can't really describe it, because I was having this conversation with somebody else and they're like, well, you've been doing this for 6 years now. It's like mom life, business life, like all the things. And like, some days I'm just feeling like I'm surviving. But once I realized to have what that mind shift is, then just survive, it's crazy.
No, I agree. And this has been a camp. So right now, you know, I'm doing my PhD. I have my own small business, Walking Like Warriors Self-Defense. You know, I'm in fight camp. I don't have any kids. I was saying to my boyfriend the other day, I'm like, the cat and the dog's enough. Like, I don't, like I said, I don't even know how I can add kids to all of this right now. And I'm doing like I'm actually doing a mindset course with Mindset Mike. So he works with athletes. So that's been awesome. And I've been putting a lot of energy into that. And 2 principles have really helped me. One is something my old boss used to say, and it was, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. So I just, you know, you look at, you know, say you got to eat an elephant. It's enormous. You go, oh my God, I could never do that. But you just, you know what, one bite at a time. And eventually you're going to get there. So, you know, I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, okay, I'm eating the elephant tonight. This is, there's a lot. And I think that's, because I'm a person, I'm a really big to-do list person. I love checking stuff off and feeling good. And then all of a sudden I get 5 more things and it does feel super overwhelming. But then I know, like, you know what, just keep going and eventually it's going to get done. You know, you prioritize the things that are important and it's going to get done.
Yes.
And then the other thing that's really helped me, something Mike said is, you know, if you said you were hungry, you can't complain when your plate is full. And that is something I've really been practicing this last year is gratitude. And I know the first time I kind of heard that, I was like, yeah, woo, but it is actually amazing when you start to really practice gratitude, how it changes how you view everything. And, you know, I think to myself, like, how lucky am I that I'm a professional athlete? I get to do what I love every day. This is something I chose to do. I really want to do. I'm doing my PhD, which is something it's a lot of work, but it's something not many people get the privilege of doing. I have my business where I get to work with Indigenous communities, which is something that really fills my cup. I've got a beautiful home life with my partner and my fur babies and, you know, my little home. So it's a lot to take care of, but my plate is so full, and there's nothing I want to give up. So I just try to remind myself of that when there's like little things that I have to do. And or, like go to the gym and like I'm doing, okay, I got to do my extra cardio. And I'm like, well, this is just because I've got a fight coming up. Like I have a fight, like I have a professional fight. How exciting is that? So it's just kind of constantly going back to the well and looking at all the amazing things we all have in our lives, and just practicing that gratitude has really helped me feel more centered and really improve my mindset 100%.
I love that. I find sometimes we're always in a scarcity mindset. And so when we're kind of, maybe you can tap in on this coming from a different lens, but just as a business owner, like where's the next client coming? Where's this coming from? Or where's the next bill coming from? Like, and then we're just kind of jump full on center and trying to just survive at the end of the day. And so we're wanting to take on maybe clients that we might not want. Have you ever, I know there's a different way with MMA fighting, you have to be a certain weight, but have you ever felt like you got put in a situation that didn't feel in alignment to you?
That's a really good question, because of MMA, it's very different. So when you're not signed to a major promotion like the UFC or PFL or KSW, you basically are a free agent, and you kind of have to take the fights that are coming. Like, yes, you can turn some down, but especially so myself, being a female, I compete at bantamweight, which means when I fight, I fight at 135 pounds. No way in hell am I ever that weight, except for on weigh-in day. So I usually walk around at like 150, 155. But because the higher weight classes for women, there are less competitors, so there is less choices. And I remember I was having a really hard time finding a fight, and I was getting offered a girl who was, they're like, oh, but she's a weight class up, so she's 145. And I remember being like, oh, like that's a bit big for me, because then I'm fighting someone who's got almost like a 20-pound size difference on me when I get in the cage. And after, like, sometimes, like, you know what, sometimes it works out, sometimes, and props to people who do it. But for me personally, at that time, I was doing well, and I thought, like, why would I, purposely stack the chips against myself just to get a fight? And that was really hard, because I had to be patient, and I didn't know when my next offer was going to be. And I totally recognize that I'm extremely privileged in that I am, my research is funded. So I received the SHIRK award supplement from the Canadian government, because my research is around health. So I applied, and I was awarded for it, which was really amazing. So that's where most of my funding comes from. My Walking Like Warriors nonprofit, it is, I don't have to always find those clients, because it is a little bit more off the side of my desk. It is more of a passion project. And with MMA, you really don't make very much money until you get to those big leagues. So some people, especially if like financially, they have to take those fights, and you do see some people and their records are really, really off. And it's like, oh, they're just fighting for a paycheck. They're just doing it because they have to. And I spent some time in Thailand growing.
Amazing.
Sorry, yeah. So I lived in Thailand for about 6 months when I was 24, and I was training Muay Thai there, and I loved it. And I would see, though, like some like little kids would be in the gym, and they'd be fighting Muay Thai, and some of them loved it, but some of them, like, I could tell, like, didn't really like it. But they had to do it because their family got paid. They had to do it. Or some people who were Muay Thai fighters like my age, they're living in poverty. They're fighting for a paycheck. They're fighting so they can eat. And that's so hard for me, because I fight basically because I want to, because it's something that fills my cup. And then there's people who are fighting because they basically have to. And that's not, just only in Thailand, that's also here too. So I would say, like, I am very privileged that I haven't really been put in too many of those situations when it comes to MMA. But I totally understand and empathize with that, because I see it happen to a lot of the people, people I train with. Yeah, that's definitely a hard one. And like, if you work for yourself, I was just talking to my friend the other day, sometimes it's feast or famine, right? It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. And then, oh my God, it's dead. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, when's the next thing going to come? It never comes nicely how it's supposed to. It's so unpredictable. So
Yes.
yeah, not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Do you take any time off during training? So, because we'll highlight the next fight that's coming up on the 15th. I was almost going to say 14th. I was like, I feel like that's wrong.
No worries. So Saturday, March 15th in Belleville, Ontario.
Amazing.
So my fight will be for BTC Fight Promotions. It's a bantamweight fight against Muay Thai champion Andrea Watson. So I'm really excited for this. We were supposed to fight back in October, and unfortunately she got injured. Mm-hmm. So we've rescheduled this fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Her name's been on my mind for a long time, so I'm excited we finally get to do it. We're the only women on the card, and I actually won Rookie of the Year for a BTC last year. Yeah, so that was super exciting. Male or female, I was Rookie of the Year, and so I'm looking forward to going back and putting on a show, and maybe I get Fighter of the Year this time, which my friend Clay Pie, the Bear, actually got that. So I'll have to come for him. Come for him.
Yes.
Sorry, Clay.
I love that. Because it's coming up soon, because the 15th is going to be here before you know it. What do you do to prepare? You have your mindset. Just tell us a little bit more behind the scenes, what you kind of navigate.
For sure. So I take a very holistic approach to my fight camps, to my martial arts journey. So, being Métis, a lot of us, we have that holistic nature to just our communities, to our being, to our sense of selves. I'm actually just going to take a moment to show off.
I noticed
beautiful. So I had a friend, Sarah, actually gift these to me. Her mom beaded them for me. They're big strawberry earrings. So just shows kind of like how we take care of each other, and that was very sweet. So I wanted to thank her for that. So when I look at if whoever is not familiar, there's something called the medicine wheel. And that's originally a Plains First Nation teaching, but it's one that has been adopted by many Métis. And so that's where you look at yourself in 4 quadrants. So there's body, mind, heart, and spirit. So your physical self, your mental self, your emotional self, and your spiritual self. So when I go into like a fight camp or prepare for a fight, I try and touch all of those. I kind of compare it to like a wheel. If one side of the wheel is a little bit flat, the car is not gonna go as well as it would. So it's like trying to make sure all those parts of me are really nourished. So in my physical sense, training really hard, doing strength and conditioning. I go to physio once a week at Next Niagara, and they take really good care of me, just making sure my body's in good condition. I have a nutritionist, Sean Wicks, the diabetic fighter. So I work with him, and he keeps me in tip-top shape and doing well. So, and then my coaches at Niagara Top Team, Prickett, D-Marks, Jelly, they're all amazing. Just making sure every part of my body is just ready to go. And then mentally, I'm doing my mindset course with Mindset Mike. So it's a lot of work about just, digging deep and looking at, what's your attitude like going into practice? What's fun about it? Oh my gosh. I remember one fight I had, I was so stressed out, and it wasn't even fun. I was thinking about this. I'm like, well, I'm doing this. I should be having fun. I should be enjoying this. So he's really helped me refine my joy in my martial arts. And again, that gratitude. So being thankful for it. So really trying to mentally prepare and stay focused. Emotionally, just making that time, for my family. And, like I'll just go out and walk the dog, if I and spend some time with my partner. And, with the girls at the gym, we have a really, really tight girls group. So Jasmine, Joe, G, Danielle, Tanya, we'll all go out. We'll go out for lunch, and we'll just chat. And so it's just really nice to connect with each other as friends as well. Calling my parents. And then spiritually, I like to smudge. That's something I like to do just every once in a while, just that to really center myself. Just going for walks, being in nature, just taking those little quiet moments where I can just really recenter myself and just be still. That always feels really nice too. My life moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So when I can find those little moments just to be still, those are really appreciated.
Maybe you can just educate the listeners what smudging is. I know what it is, but
absolutely. So that's another practice that's been adopted by the Métis. I have a beautiful shell that my friend gifted to me. She harvested on the beach. And so I have an eagle feather that was gifted to me by Elder Alec Nelson. So really, really beautiful. He actually gifted that to me when I was injured with one of my first surgeries. So that means a lot to me. So
Beautiful.
yeah, thank you so much. There's 4 sacred medicines. So sage, tobacco, sweetgrass, and oh my gosh, what's the other one? Cedar. There we go. So everyone does it differently. The way I do it is I take those 4 sacred medicines, I put them in my abalone shell. I light them on fire. I kind of fan the flames with my eagle feather, and it's just my way of connecting to my ancestors, just creating to the creator, whatever's out there, everyone's got a sense of spirituality, but I think just it gives me that moment of just clarity. And I've taught my boyfriend, and we'll do it together. And after a rough day, sometimes I'm like, I just need to smudge. And it's almost like a bath for your soul, is how I kind of think of it. Is you take the smoke and you it's a very sweet smelling smoke, and you kind of brush it over your hair, your eyes, to give yourself clarity to see, your mouth so you speak kind words, your ears so you can hear the truth, put it over my heart. And it's just a way of just cleansing myself. And I always try and do that before I fight. It's a really nice way, again, of just kind of resetting and feeling at one with myself. So I always appreciate when I can do that.
I love that. I'm going along the journey of figuring out my Métis heritage, and I've been just loving the journey as well. We came from a bit of a broken past just because of I think I maybe talked about this briefly in the show, and I can't remember which episode, but that my grandma was a survivor in the school. So I feel like there's just kind of like, what else can you ask without shaking up the past, because you don't want to bring that forward. But like, my goal is to educate my kids so we can make sure that legacy is moving forward too.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah, we have such and like, people don't realize like that idea of intergenerational trauma. So things that have happened to our grandparents, and even if they're still alive, it gets passed down, and things that they talk about, or the things they don't talk about, right? There's things that, questions that like I've asked my grandparents and they don't always answer it, straightforward. I'm like, okay, that's something they kind of want to leave alone. And people don't realize, they think like, why are different, Indigenous communities the way they are? And it's really like the legacy of colonialism and the residential school system really, really affected us, and affected, if you look at the Indian Act, it was illegal for more than 3 Indigenous people to gather at once for so many years, because, it was seen as like, oh, they're planning an uprising. So how are you supposed to pass on your culture? How are you supposed to play sports? How are you supposed to gather and, potlatch or sweat or whatever your group does? How are we supposed to be proud of ourselves when we're not even allowed to gather? And those rules have just been, rewritten in like our grandparents' time. One of my elders told a story about how his father, was driving a friend, and his friend had a case of beer, and the RCMP pulled them over and arrested him as the driver because he was an Indian, and Indians were not allowed to be in the presence of alcohol. And so he was taken to jail. And there's just so many examples of things like that have happened that aren't public knowledge or aren't spoken about. So something that I am really passionate about is missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit. So I started a nonprofit, Walking Like Warriors Self-Defense, back in 2017, because I was asked by my nation, Métis Nation BC, if I would teach a self-defense workshop to some young Métis girls. And I was training MMA at the time, so I was like, oh, like, this will be awesome. I can definitely talk to them and show them some stuff. But I remember thinking like, oh, like, there's I want to like just do a little bit more research. And the stuff I found out there was just trash. Like, it was like very macho. It was a lot of like people showing like these flashy moves that like would not work in real life.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like, okay, there's a gap there. And I want to, and that's where I kind of realized, okay, like I want to fill that gap, especially because a lot of these organizations really didn't know very much about Indigenous culture or what it's like, on reserve. There's different things, different safety concerns. So being able to kind of help fill that void has been really, really rewarding. And I've been very, very proud of that, and just that small part that I can contribute to, fighting against this genocide against our women.
Maybe we can just educate the listeners of the missing and murdered Indigenous women, what it's all about a bit more. Like I have stats here, but you might have more than, just so listeners can really understand what you're trying to do and what we're trying to do as a whole.
For sure. So over the past 20 years, there's been about 4,000 Indigenous women who have gone missing or been murdered. And I know 4,000 women maybe across Canada doesn't sound like a big number, but you have to think that Indigenous women only account for about 3% of the population in Canada. So if that amount of white women went missing, that would be 18,000 missing white women. So when you put it into the context of how small our population is and how many of us have been missing and gone missing, it is extremely alarming. Indigenous women are murdered at a rate of 6 times higher than non-Indigenous women. And then the murder solve rates for Indigenous women are a lot lower than they are for people who are non-BIPOC. So women who are Black, Indigenous, of color, the murder solve rates are a lot lower. And this is also something that we see in the media. So recent statistics, only 25 to 30% of missing cases of missing Indigenous women were featured in the media, while over 50% of the non-Indigenous women who went missing were featured in the media. And then we have to look at the language that is being used too. So a lot of the time when Indigenous women go missing, they'll say like, oh, like they were a known drug user or a sex worker, or they're known to disappear at times. Like the language they use is it makes it almost seem like, oh, they're getting what they deserve. And that's the sense I feel about it. Yes. When rather than saying like, this woman, she is a daughter, she is a very proud older sister, she's in high school, she loves soccer, sharing the things about her, like things that are, just positive about her, right? And it's the language that we need to treasure our women. And that's something that across Canada, I think has happened, especially if you go way back, the legacy of colonialism. Indigenous women have been treated as commodities. They've been treated extremely poorly. They were some of the last people that got the right to vote. So it's definitely something that attitude is still there, that we are less than. So it's working to make it that we are, show us that we are worthy, we are sacred, and we deserve to feel safe and be protected.
100%. You nailed all the stats. I literally have it all. I don't remember it because of my dyslexia. So I wrote it down because I didn't want to get anything wrong, because it's such an important topic. So thank you. You went above and beyond sharing that.
It's something like, when I so there's there's an organization called the Little Red Dress organization, and I think they might be on a bit of a break right now. I'm not 100% sure, but they made these beautiful little red beaded earrings that look like little red dresses. Yes. And the idea of the red dress is that something that calls attention to missing and murdered Indigenous women. The idea is that red is one of the only colors that the people in the spirit world can see. So spirits can see the color red, so it kind of calls them back and lets them know they're being remembered. So that was why the red dress became that symbol. So I have these little beaded little red dress earrings, and I always wear them to my weigh-ins. The first time I ever wore them, because I had a bunch of people be like, because you don't usually wear jewelry to a weigh-in. People are like, oh, like what's with the earrings? And then it was a nice conversation starter for me. So now I always wear them because I always get questioned about it. I always get photographed, and that's my opportunity to be like, actually, these are because of this. And then some people, have never heard about these statistics, or they weren't aware, and they go, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that. So it's spreading awareness. And I actually had one fight where during my weigh-in, I put a red handprint on my face, And that is another symbol for missing and buried Indigenous women. And that one got a lot of people asking me, like, what does this mean? So if I can use my platform as an athlete to draw attention to that, then that's bigger than sport for me.
I absolutely love what you're doing. As you can see, I try to use those images too to promote you coming on the show and just anything. I just bringing more awareness to it is so important. 100%, 125%.
Appreciate that.
So going back to your website, because I have it scrolling down here, can you just tell a little bit more? So you said that it's a non-for-profit, just so we can understand.
Yeah. So I just, and I'm still figuring out the non-for-profit thing. So props to everyone. It's a lot of work. So I was just kind of running it like independently. And then my friend was telling me, like you should incorporate. There was a big contest called Powwow Pitch, and it's a North American business competition. So you pitch your small business, and yeah, you should totally do it. And you pitch your small Indigenous business. And the top winner wins like 25 grand. And I actually got second place, which was awesome. So I won 10 grand, which was amazing. And the big part of it is like, you say like, if I got the money, what would I do? So I said, I would take the next steps. I would incorporate, get a website going, hire more staff, do like some extra classes to build our knowledge. So I've been able to do all that with that. So Walking Like Warriors, I'm currently living in Ontario with my partner. So we do a lot out here. And then we've also got a team back in BC. So I'll actually be going back to BC next month to do a few more workshops. I think I'm doing one for the UBC women's group, and then one for a couple of different Indigenous organizations out in Chilliwack, one in Vancouver. So we're really excited to come back and get to do that good work. So yeah, check us out. And, there's a call to action at the bottom if you want to book us or learn a little bit more about it. So we do work on a sliding scale. So especially for our Indigenous communities, I always say that I never want money to be the difference between someone feeling safe or not, or learning about self-defense. I don't want that to be a barrier. So mostly what we make does pay for just like our travel and, our time away from work and away from home. But I always say, like, talk to us. There's grants we can apply for. And we're always excited to come out and be able to work with the community.
I love that. I have so many questions in my brain now. My ADHD is like, which one to go first? Maybe because the one thing that I found as a women Métis business owner, finding grants that I could even potentially reach out to, because there is how you found me, how you've reached out to me. I would connect with them. And then I just felt like at the end of the day, you kind of got clumped in with everybody else. It wasn't as easy to find that support. Do you have any tips for anybody who's wanting to start a business, not-for-profit or whichever, on trying to find those kind of grants?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say the BC website's actually been pretty good. MIRR, so the Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, I would definitely MIRR. I would tell people to look at that because they're always posting a lot of grants. I would say connect with your local friendship center or Métis group. I'm always asking Métis Nation BC, like, hey, can you guys help me out? And so they, while they can't fund me directly, they've been really helpful in pointing to me towards some certain, a sport-specific grants, or like a wellness-specific grant that I am eligible for. So I would just tell people, connect with your communities, see what's on your local government website, and just, I guess the algorithm on Instagram picked up that I'm always looking for grants. So now I actually get them quite a bit in ads. Yeah, there's one for RBC that I keep getting. So I know the phones are always listening to us. I would definitely say it is challenging because, and for especially those government ones, they do, there are a lot of barriers. They'll tell you like what you need, what you can spend money on, even if it's something that you're like, this is actually something my business really needs. Sometimes you aren't able to, or they'll ask for a lot of reporting afterwards, which is fair. But sometimes, working with elders, it is customary, to give like a cash honorarium, and the government don't like that when you just giving out cash, right? So having to, I remember I work for an organization and they said, oh, you got to ask the elder for their SIN number and get them to write you a receipt. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Hazel's 90. No, I'm not. So definitely that's something that is, tricky to navigate, especially like, as Indigenous people, we do have a certain way we've always done things. And we have worked, in ways to like incorporate our traditional ways while, working in this modern world. But sometimes, you're asked to do things that for me, morally, I just didn't always feel comfortable with. Like, things like that. So it can be very tricky, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But I heard a really good quote the other day, actually. It is, if it's your calling, it's going to keep calling. So if there's something that you're meant to do, it's going to always be there until you finally do it. It'll always be there. If it's your calling, it's going to keep calling.
That's so true. The amount of times I was like, oh, I'll go back to like a 9 to 5. And Career Dynamics is just always like, I kept getting swooped back into it. And I'm like, I just got to do it. Just need to do it. And I've never really looked back, or every now and then I'll have like that, oh, this is so hard. I don't think I can do it anymore. And then all of a sudden, like magically I get like a free coffee, or magically I get like all these things. And I'm like, okay, the universe is telling me.
The little signs. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just those little things. And there you go. For the fact that it's just like that little, like, oh, free coffee. It's like, okay, this is like, obviously it's something you want to do, right? It's just, oh, like, okay, I'm here.
I kid you not. It was probably, I don't even know, maybe a few years ago, 3 years ago, give or take. And I was like, I'm it. This is it. Like, I'm going to go to Tim Hortons. And if someone doesn't buy me a coffee, like, this is like the odds I was giving it. Like, if someone doesn't buy me a coffee, I'm done. I'm done. And I kid you not, they bought me a coffee. I'm like, this is weird.
That's wild. That's
I've been told I'll just keep going.
You're almost like, damn, okay, guess I gotta keep going. Yeah, there you go. Good for you. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, because I know we sponsor you at Creative Dynamics. Are you looking for any sponsors? Because if there's anybody listening, what kind of sponsors are you maybe looking for you to fight, or maybe within Walking Like Warriors? So if anyone's listening and they might even know of somebody to interconnect you with, or even me, let me know.
Yeah. So I appreciate that so much, Brittany. So for people like don't always know this too, like, so a big part of what helps keep MMA fighters going is getting sponsors. So this is also like, y'all business leader people out there, this is a tax write-off. So I always tell people that I'm like, I can give you a receipt. So what I ask is, a fight camp is extremely expensive. I think I did the math once, and for training and a fight camp for a year, it's like almost $10,000. Like things like your gym expenses, your supplements, your nutrition. Before you fight, you need to get medicals done. So you need to get like an eye test, a doctor's test, a blood work test, an MRI. Like you have to get a lot. Yeah. So like the Athletic Commission, like I said, like it's not like anybody can just get in the ring. Like they need to make sure you're really healthy before you go beat someone up. But especially, like the blood work, like that's obviously for making sure, we're safe and they're not getting communicable diseases. But like the medicals are extremely expensive. And then, sometimes you get your medicals and then your fight gets canceled. Like that's happened to me before. And I'm like, okay, now I'm 800 in the hole with nothing to show for it. So sponsors are really huge. And so I reached out to a lot of local businesses. So I actually, my friend told me, she's like, you should message a lot of the people on the Métis business registry. And that's how I found Brittany. Brittany was super kind. I wrote my little letter and she's like, yeah, I'd love to sponsor you, which was incredible. That made my day. So thank you.
It was so funny when you emailed too, because I was like, yep, for sure. Here's the money. I was like, oh, maybe I should make sure she's a real person.
Good call. Yeah. So, and yeah, if anyone wants to look me up, so on Instagram, I'm the Alanamal. So TheAlanamal. So my sponsors, I usually say, whatever people can afford is awesome. I kind of have like a 3 package system, gold, silver, bronze. So feel free to message me about that. but people who sponsor me, you know, I'll give them social media shout outs. When I do interviews, I'll mention them. So after this, I'll if you'll give me a little time, I would like to thank some of my major sponsors. And then when I go in for my fight, I have a big banner behind me. And on my banner is your company's logo. So, you know, if I'm fighting on UFC Fight Pass, I'm fighting on pay-per-view, that's your business's logo behind me, you know, broadcasted for the world to see. So that's always really cool. And then you get to see, you know, I'm helping out a local athlete. So, you know, feel good about that. So anybody who wants to sponsor, please feel free to reach out or connect Brittany and she can connect to me. And everything is super helpful and super appreciated because the sponsorship makes it so I can spend more time focusing on my sport. I'm currently the number 4 pound for pound female in Canada on the regional scene, which is very exciting. So I'm really working towards that number 1 spot and everything helps.
Almost there. You're almost there.
We're getting so close. So just a few of my sponsors. So Creative Dynamics, Lakeside Recovery, The Family, Pumped Supplements, The Fight Cartel, Ojimakwe Wellness, Next Niagara. Shout out to Brett Storr, who's been an amazing physio for me. The Diabetic Fighter, who's my nutritionist. My 2 gold sponsors, I really want to say thank you. One is De La Telle, which is a bakery out here in St. Catharines. We're really close to Niagara Falls, and they just have the best bread and coffee and cookies and a lot of stuff that I can't enjoy until after fight camp is over, but they're always super lovely whenever I'm in there to get my bread. And then Primus Diaz. So he is a local entrepreneur, and he is supporting local, whether it's pro, amateur, coaches, gyms, fight events. So they're supporting all of us in every way, and they've been absolutely amazing. So big shout out. Thank you, Primus Diaz.
Love that. Well, if anyone's looking to sponsor Alana, you can send me a direct message. I have her Instagram right up here for you. So yeah, please go sponsor her because she's going to be number 1.
Let's go.
Well, we're almost at time. Do you have any last minute thoughts before we go offline?
I really appreciate that you kind of asked me about like how, you know, sometimes one thing my coach, Chris Prickett, says that I really love is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I don't think I always understood that, but now I'm really starting to, and really just seeing how everything is connected. So, you know, maybe I'm an athlete, maybe, you know, someone listening out there is a business owner. You know, like our worlds are different, but they're not that different. You know, it's still about, you know, practicing gratitude, overcoming those challenges, and really doing what you love. Because if you don't love what you do, what's the point? And, you know, sometimes we have to make those sacrifices and to get to what we're going to do. But we got this, guys. We got this. You know, we are resilient. And that's a big thing, is just keep going. And that's something that I've always especially really brought into my life. So whether you're an athlete, business owner, whoever you are, you got this. Keep going.
I love that. And we'll definitely have you back on the show later. We'll promote your next, because you said that you have 3 new fights. March, and a few other ones.
Well, I'm hoping to fight again. So if this fight goes well, I'd love to fight for a belt in June. So that's the goal. I'd love to fight 3 times this year, and then maybe one in November or October. So right now I'm really, really locked into this fight. I'm feeling very confident, feeling very good, and just no stone unturned, just really putting everything I have into this camp. But yeah, would love to chat with you after. Again, that's March 15th for BTC Fight Promotions. It'll be in Belleville, Ontario, whether you want to buy tickets or if you want to buy the pay-per-view to support me. Always really appreciated. I'm excited to put on a show.
I can't wait to watch you. You're going to kill it. And thank you for all our listeners listening today. I'm your host, Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. And a big thank you to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And tune in next week as we have another great guest. With that, everyone, remember your journey is unique and your worth is unquestionable. Thank you.